Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a guy here, familiar face to most of you out there in the soccer circle. A teammate of mine, somebody who has supported me, made a big difference in my organizations, and I would suspect any organization he has been a part of and any team he has been a part of. Um, I don't want to give away anything because this would be a very interesting interview. So I'll have to ask him to introduce himself and give his background in Trinidad and tell us when he came to Canada.
Well, thank you for having me on your show. Well, my name is Dixon Modeste, as many of you might know, or who didn't know, now they know. Um, I came here in 1985 to go to York University, but I fell in love with the game of soccer since I was small. My uncle was a really good player, and he took me and my cousins out into the park and ran drill with us every weekend. And from there I got into loving the sport. And then my cousins and they were pretty good. It was the late Mickey, was my other cousin Kirk, Tringham, Kerwin Trotman, and then Stefan Trotman. And Stefan went on to play for Fatima and became a very good player. Well, you know about the late Mickey, who played for Trinidad and unfortunately died in a car crash representing Trinidad. And then my cousin Kerwin, who was probably the most skillful but didn't want to play in colleges league. I don't know why. And then my cousin Kirk, who after the day scored the first goal for Trinidad and Tobago against Brazil. And an interesting story there, we were all hustling to the stadium. First minute of the game, and the crowd went wild, and we outside getting in. We said, Brazil score already? What's going on? And someone said, Kirk Trotman just scored one of the most spectacular goals you'll ever see. And none of us got a chance to see it. Me and my cousins, my aunt, and all of that. But I come from a very interesting soccer family, and we live in a little compound and we made a little 3x3 field, and we had a lot of battles there, me and my cousins, and the love for the sport keep growing. And then I went to Arima Boys RC school, and I represented the team there, and I became the captain. And then I sit common entrance, and I passed for Queen's Royal College. And
Right, boy.
I went to Queen's QRC, and I started to play with the under 14, and we had a very, very good team. In fact, Eddie Hart's son, Andy Salandi, was on that team, and we gave, I don't know, we 10 and 11 and 12 goals was our average. And then we won, and then we played under 16, and we lost in the semifinals. And then we played with the big team, and that was the golden year you could see of Trinidad and Tobago football, because there was Latapy and Boston and Lianson Lewis and all of that in all different colleges teams.
You remember what year that was?
That was, I came out 85, so that was 84, 83, 84. That's when all those, the league, I mean, when you go to a game back then, horses had to parade the ground to keep back the crowd. Had tons of people coming out to support colleges football, and you really wanted to play then. It gave you the feeling to play. And then I did A levels, and then I applied for universities in Canada, because my mom had and my aunt had friends and family who were up here. So I decided to come to Canada instead of the States, and I got accepted into Western and York, and I decided to go to York. And then
That's York University out in the West End, right?
Yeah, at Kiel and Finch, and I decided to go to York. And then, but I came up here late September, so all the leagues and stuff were finished. So I decided to play indoor, and I met some of my Sam and Prince and Craig. And because it was winter, we played a lot of indoor games and indoor tournaments in the West End, Keel and Finch and Jane and Finch and stuff. And then in the summer, we decided to go and try out for York University. And while we were there, the coach, he liked our games, but he said, you know, my policy is that we do not start freshmen. And we looked at one another and said, well, you know what, we're gonna, as LeBron said, take our talent somewhere else, because we felt we were good enough to start and we weren't going to, so we decided to go take our talents elsewhere. And at that time, Flemington Park was the place to play. Like everybody wanted showcasing their talent there, so we decided to join Flemington League.
Okay.
And
Now these players that you joined Flamina League with, you knew them from home, that background, or are they you just met them and just like classmates in the university?
yeah, they were classmates from the university, all of them. Sam, Craig, Prince, Rocky. We were all going to York, and I met them there.
Okay.
None of them was from Trinidad.
Okay. So now you decide to join Flemington. How you knew about Flemington? Who made that move to join Flemington? Who
It was
initiated it?
Craig.
Okay.
Craig Wellington, because he knew about, he used to play a lot, and he was here way before me, like, so he knew about all the other leagues, and he knew that there were games at Flemington, so he decided, oh, tell us, let's go there and play. So we said, oh, sure.
One question before that. Did you actually know about Flemington before? I know he asked, did you guys ever take a look before you joined? Or he said he's going to put the team in this Flemington League, and your first outing was come in and play there? And I'm just asking him this, ladies and gentlemen, because this guy is a stalwart right now in Toronto soccer. So I just want to know exactly what type of culture shock he had. If he came and looked at the league, or if he just came in to play a game in the league and realized what Flemington was about. So could you tell us how you got, what type of shock you got when you got to Flemington?
It was a shock, because as I said, I came in the winter, so I didn't play any outdoor or go to any outdoor leagues or whatever. So this was the first time, and this was the same, this was just this was 86. So I came in the end of 85, and this was in the summer of 86. So I didn't know about any other league or anything like that. So when I went to Flemington, was the first time that I went to the league, period. I even knew that there was a league like that. So it was a shock, but it was a pleasant and wonderful shock.
So how did imagination do? Because that's when I saw you as a player. I mean, obviously, if it's a university team, everybody would know it's a sprightly team. It's smart guys. So, but you know, you need more than just that. Fear, the how you think your team went.
Well, we had a good core of players. Like there were like 7 of us that were fairly good. So all we needed was just 4 to fill in the gaps, really, because we felt once we get on a field, once we have our core, we could hold anyone. So we didn't care about the competition, because we know we could hold our own. We will hold our own. So when we came though, and we saw some of the teams, like we saw some games before, and we said, oh, some of these teams can really play, so we will really have to bring our A game. And even we told even the guys who were filming them, we said, you know, you'll have to play your A games, because you could see there's a crowd, people laughing. I said, this is like back home. If you get drinking, people going to laugh at you and stuff. So bring your A game and come ready to play. So the league had some good talent. Really, because as I say, it's a league where it's not like TND, where you have to register, and then you think you could bring people from playing in different teams to join your team to make your team strong, and that's what everybody did. And to make so you have everybody had good, at least a good 10 or probably more. And so we said that we had to play, and this was a wonderful place to showcase the talent, because as I said, the crowd was lovely at that time. Loved the crowd.
All right. If I remember correctly, you guys had a 1-year stint. I can't remember exactly if you guys, but if I have to just let my imagination slip, I would think you guys could have been, you wasn't a dormant team. So I would say you were probably around either mid upper or mid lower of the standards.
We were mid upper. Because we had some good goal scorers, and we defended. We had some a good defense, so we were mid upper. We just, if we had a few more packs, and we would have been giving anybody a run for the money. But we were upper.
Okay, and based on being mid upper, and you really did have some talent there. I saw you had a long throw. Now, let me ask you about the long throw. That was the first thing that impressed me, because after we played Flemington, which is we as the marquee team, spoilers, we used to go and hang out against the wall. And at that time, Flemington was playing on the two fields, the main Old Trafford and the one east of there. And I remember we were back in the East Field against that wall that ended up being our wall. And I remember seeing you making the long throws. And so were you making long throws at home before you came here? Or is this something you felt to improvise on? Where did you see that long throw before? Because we had national players like Winston Phillips and all these guys making long throw. Is that something you were doing home, or you just developed that?
No, I was doing it at home, but believe it or not, there was someone with a longer throw than me on my team. So we used to leave it for him, which was Junior Noel, and he played with the national team, but he could throw it from half of the field into the box. But I had always had the ability to throw long, but I used to defer to him. But when I came up here, I was able to now showcase that talent of mine.
Okay. So based on not only a long throw, I decided to draft you into spoilers, right? That we know how that went in terms of you fitting in, right? Because you came in as we're doing the interviews, you can hear some of the prominent names, some of these other people out in the community mentioning, like Tall One, Ronald, and these guys. You didn't have a problem in making the team. That I can say. Yeah, you don't even have to. You didn't have a problem in making the team. But based on that, and I drafting you with Irie. Now, what you thought of Irie, the T&D versus the Flemington League? Did it help your career then?
Yeah, Trotman did help my career with Irie, in the sense that there were a lot of skillful forwards at the time that you had to really apply a trade in the Flemington League in order to stop them. And when you go to the TND, there were more skillful forwards as well, but and they were from different countries, so they brought different flavor of style of play. So you had to really concentrate. And from the Flemington League and playing against some guys, you develop your concentration, so that when you're playing TND, you carry forward that same level of concentration. Otherwise, you were embarrassed. And the transition to the TND, I found it to be easy, in the sense that I consider it as soccer, and something I played all my life. And in fact, in the first game for Irie, I did score that game. Yeah, I scored and we won 6-0, and we were happy because we scored a lot of goals and we shut out the team. So we were happy about that, and we ended up having a good season that year.
Okay, now you came in the meat of the action and you saw a lot of the end of the action. So I'll just go through it with you. From Flemington, you, for some reason, this is the gentleman end up in management, right? Obviously, you see he's a curiosity guy, so the intelligence speaks for itself. He's steady, he's reliable, he's disciplined. From Flemington, we joined Malvern League, right? While we were playing TND and Flemington, the Flemington League discontinued and we joined Malvern League. Now, what you thought of that new experience with the Malvern League?
The Malvern League was more like what you would say is like best village in Trinidad, in the sense that all the countries united to form basically their team. So like you had the Greens and the Bajan. Well, they had each country had their representation. So, and then as with the Flemington League, it wasn't, you could draft in players from other leagues. So they brought players from their country that were good to play, to be, and um, unfortunately or fortunately for spoilers, when they were playing us, they brought everybody, and so every week was a test for us. But the Malvern League, it was, I wouldn't say, it was almost as good as Flemington, but it didn't have as much crowd as Flemington. But there were a lot of skillful players in that league as well.
Okay, now from the Malvern League, structure-wise, it seemed a little more universal because we were playing on different fields. If you remember, we played Malvern, Hopfield, sometime McClellan, and that was a nice flavor. But you were there with me, supporting me. You know, if you're around me, you know I had my trials and tribulations when it comes to administrating the game. But what made you, I mean, for what we went through as an organization, we went through a split, right? We went through a lot of things, I would say, together. What made you stay around? You had the ability to join another team. You had the ability, you're a credible person, you don't have baggage. So you could already join any team or any club you wanted at that time. What made you stay around with spoilers and, as people might say, with midget?
I like to play with teams that are organized, where basically you just come and all you have to worry about is playing. Other teams, you have to come, you have to worry, are you going to have enough people? Are you, will we have a uniform? There's a lot of others with some teams that you have to worry about. And I never had that problem with spoilers or even with Irie when you were in it. So it lifts, it takes a little thing off you as a player, so you just come to perform. And that's basically one of the main reasons that I probably stayed with spoilers. Plus, there were I made a lot of friends there. When as I said, I came to go to school, and it was ready. Some of the elder guys said, okay, you know, you're going to school, so I'll pay registration and all that. So a little, and those little things too made me stay with spoilers and Irie.
Well, I'm going to put you on a little spot here. While that was good in general terms, I'm going to put you on a little spot here. Mm-hmm. Based on your support for our organization, even as we evolve, even to Caribbean Stars, but we had a little trying time. And I remember even when we lose in the tournament, you wanted to get it back in the opening when Everton was formed. It was trying, but for some reason, you, Ronald, and Anton supported me and bringing personnel. And as I said, you called some names in the onset of this thing. Mickey, Trotman, God rest his soul, Kerwin, you know, you brought in some talented guys. And what was your feeling then? Because obviously it seemed like you were in it even more than me to make this thing work and to rise to the level of the competition or even maintain the championship caliber of team we were.
Well, when the breakup with Everton, the politics behind it, I felt didn't pertain to me. Whatever the reason that they wanted to whatever reason they wanted to break off from spoilers, that politics didn't affect me. So it was easy, and so it was easy in the sense that okay, I can go with them or I can stay with here. And as I said before, we were organized already, so that's why I preferred um, an organized system. So I stayed with it. I didn't know what Everton would have offered in terms of organization and stuff. So I decided, you know what, a bird in hand is better than one in the bush. So I decided to I'll stay with spoilers. But as I said, that politics, I tried to stay out of it, and I just wanted to play football.
Okay, that was very good because you maintain your friendship even with the guys in
Oh
that
yeah,
band. Yeah.
oh
And
yeah. As I said, they whoever broke off had their politics, and they knew that I wasn't part of that politics, so it was easy for us to stay friends.
good. So we move on to Irie. In the later part of the career, you start playing forward. You know, it's coming down to the dregs of the Irie. There was a transition in Irie. And I'll just let you know, because we're doing the history and it's for the betterment of how we need to do things to get a better result, because a lot of the organization now, even for the time you came in here after me, you should realize things are really dwindling, you know, so we need to do an accountability of in the history. So what happened in the latter part of, because you were there, you started to even feature as a player, transfer from stopper to big forward up front. But obviously that wasn't your skill level, right? So that means we were in a situation where something wasn't working and we had to use Dixon up front, right? How you see that latter part, because that's kind of as it is now, maybe we couldn't see the future, but it was kind of going out of existence. And what you see in the tongue long enough now to how you assess that going down at the end of the day, that part.
Well, I think our own standards played a part in that, in the sense that we only wanted to bring in people or draft in people that were of a certain, for lack of a better, caliber. So if someone wasn't, whatever our threshold was, if someone was just below it, we still didn't take them in, which probably was one of our downfalls that we should have.
So we are, just to be clear, we're talking about Ari now. We're talking
Yes,
about the TNE, right? Okay.
yes. So we should have been a little more flexible in terms of, it's not every time that a Messi is born or whatever, so that if someone comes with that we have to work with, we should be able to say, you know what, we'll work with them. So we were too stringent on that, I think, in bringing in new talents, and I think that was our downfall.
Okay. In talking to Lawrence, which premiered today, he said in '89, which you were there in '89 because I came back in '90, and that's when we used to go to your place after games. I had two teams, and Junior McNeely was coaching one. So, and maybe you can help me because this is all about helping based on information. in 89, you shake your head that I had two teams, but if I recall, and I could be wrong, 1990 seemed like it was the last official year in TND for Irie under Loney,
I
right?
believe it. Yeah, on the loan, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's when it. So what you talk about colorball, but in talking to Lawrence, the fact that Irie had two teams in '89, we're doing the maths now, and I didn't know that. I only learned that in Lawrence interview. So, and you were there, right? So how you see that part, how you see how two teams, because when I came in 1990, going to your place down by Dogleg and all there, I didn't even know there was two teams the year before.
Um, there were two teams, but players used to play on both teams. So it wasn't like two separate teams, so that three or four would play and go back and forth on both teams. So even though it was two teams, the numbers wasn't like 30 or whatever. The numbers were like 20, and people just played back and forth.
Okay, all right. So we're getting this thing cleared. We're getting the information. That's the information we need to be able to tack it on to the history of the clubs. So, and what you think attributed to the end? Because 1990, somebody has to show up and contradict what I'm saying. That my own memory is 1990 when I was there, where we were playing at Seneca and stuff, and Lodi was the coach. That on record right now in my mind was the last year of Irie. I don't know if you can help on that or
Um, it was Ken Martin after Loney or before?
before
Ken
Ken
Martin
came in
was,
'88. That when I went to Magic was '88, and
and Roland was before that.
Loney was 1990.
And Roland was before Loney or after
Yes,
Loney?
Roland
Before?
was in between. I learned in the interview now yesterday that Roland was on '89.
Okay.
Roland came back. Lawrence said Roland came back in '89. Junior McNeely had the Scarborough team,
Okay.
and Roland was running the first team because Roland
Okay.
came back. So you're asking the question because like it's tweaking your memory. So because it was news to me in the interview yesterday.
That I can't remember
So you're hitting the
when.
notes because once you asked about Roland, I didn't even know Roland came back in '89
Okay.
before I came in '90, right? So as I said, as the more people you talk to, we're gonna get that cleared up because right now most of the clubs we know when they started, we know when they ended, and it's kind of unfortunate that I was there in '90, you was there in '90, and we struggling, and that's something we have to come to grips with because that isn't good for our history.
Agreed.
Yeah, we need to know these things. So based on somebody who had the ability to, as I say, play with most teams and stuff, I remember when we were either in Flemington or Malvern that I had these little heartburns with having to wait for you to come from cricket games, right? I
Yeah.
later learned that you are entity in QRC with records and stuff. And I don't know if you want to let the public know on record that this guy, we just stole this guy and bring him into soccer, but this guy looked like he was a cricketer.
Yeah. In QRC, my cricket and soccer career parallel one another. It's one day cricket, one day soccer, one day cricket. And I represented the East Zone. And in 84, 84, 85, I ended up taking the most wickets in Colleges League. And then that same year, I broke a record in which I got a beaver trick, which is 4 wickets and 4 balls, and I think that stands up to today in colleges cricket. So yeah, I used to love to play the game cricket. I had a teammate called Shovan Prague who unfortunately lost his life, but he was a very good up and coming West Indian cricketer, and he took us under wings, and he helped develop my skill for the game, and yeah, I almost chose, in fact, cricket over soccer, because I mean, at one time it looked as though um, I was more skilled at that.
Yeah, I was getting a little scared about that when you got back into it, and I would guess, just for a little less another touch on the cricket, I would guess when you came up here, the grounds are better, because I remember one time it looked like you were playing at Sunnybrook and stuff, and I know that type of the whole ambience up here when it comes to cricket is way different than home. So I was kind of really concerned, having to wait for you, because the games are usually early up here.
Yeah, and all weekend, and so, but and but that's what made me not play cricket, because summer is so short, and then it's the whole weekend. I said, you know what? No, this is not for me, because I want to be able to enjoy something else on a Saturday or Sunday, and that cricket used to be all day. But I did play T&D First Division with York University, and we won two every year. We had a good team, and but I just the fact that spending the whole weekend, and I meant the whole weekend playing cricket,
The
it just
weekend, that
wasn't.
means it's the innings then. That means it's the continuation of the game. The continuous, like how you play a 2 day or something
Some was like that, and some was two different two different games and 2 days in the both days
in the league.
in the league.
You schedule. Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's innings too. That's nothing like a soccer game. Yeah.
No, it's like
Um, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, in terms of your record, were you pace, spin, or medium bowler?
I was pace. I was I
Pace?
was I was yeah. I I I broke some jaws in Trinidad. But that time didn't have helmet and stuff. So, but I was pretty quick.
Okay, all right. But I always thought you were a batsman,
Well, I used to bat number 5, number 6. I could have bowled my own. I was all rounder basically, but I bowled fast.
5 and 6 means you have some shots.
I had some.
Okay, and the reason why I say you had some shots, I thought you were a batsman because somebody was recommending you with your golf swing.
Oh,
Selwyn.
yeah. So Selwyn, yeah. Well, I play
Yes,
a lot of
I thought you were a batsman, but yes, you would have strokes too if you're 5 and 6.
yeah, play a lot of golf with Selwyn.
Well, based on Dixon, you seem like a contented guy and stuff, but I know you still might have some urges in your career. Is there any player that you would have liked to play with that in your career that you had that burning desire to play with, or you would have loved to play with?
Hmm. Well, in Trinidad, would have been the little general, Russell Latapy. I never played with him. I always played against him, but man, he was a joy to watch. And so I always wondered what it would have been like to play with him. So that's in Trinidad. And up here, let me see. Let me see. Jimmy, I played with Jimmy in Kingston. TC, I played with TC in the indoor league. Winty, probably Winty Hackett. Winty Hackett had super touches for a guy I probably would have loved to have played with Winty Hackett, or the late Winty.
Oh, okay. What about it? Is the creativity or just being able to smile knowing he is on your side?
Both. He was a handful. Winty was a handful, and you had to be thinking for the full 90 minutes with Winty, because one touch is all he needed to change a game, and he made the most intelligent runs. He ran off the ball. He on the ball. He was tough. He was strong on the ball, even though he was small. He had it all.
Yeah. One of the things that maybe you give the little tip. I just mentioned Dixon was transition to forward, but ladies and gentlemen, that's for one season. Dixon is a defender. And I'm seeing that he's talking about these players he's talking about playing with, they're all offensive players, ironically, right? So although he was a central back, he didn't call a central back guy because he played with many, many good ones. But in type of position in Dixon, why were you a type of defender? And I know a couple, not many, who doesn't go and get dribbled. I mean, very rare. I don't think I ever see somebody embarrass you, whether it be nutmeg, what it is. And this is just for the young players out there.
When I was in QRC, before I made the big team, there was this player called Lester Charles. We call him AD, and he went a full year without a forward dribbling him. I looked at him closely, and he was so honed in on his craft, like in practice and stuff. He would tell me, keep looking at the ball, be able to move your feet, and all these. He would keep reminding you of how to what position to be in and stuff. And I watched him and a whole year, and I swore he always calculated, never would you see rushing and be beaten. And he said he rather always on his feet so that he can adjust as well. So, and if you're on the ground, you can't adjust. And I looked at him and I saw him play and I said, you know what, I want a game like his, and I always patterned my game after him and always trying to stay on my feet, keep watching the ball, keep moving, trying to set up. Just as the forward trying to set me up, I'm trying to set them up as well.
Yeah, that's how it has to be. That's how it has to be. You're right. So I just wanted the young defenders to realize that because I know you're a Messi guy, and I find sometimes these defenders look pretty silly. I don't know. Maybe you could comment on that as a Messi guy because I can't even see you, Dixon, taking some of the things those guys take versus Messi. I mean, the highlight reel. Sometimes you wonder if they're doing that either were paid or something, but sometimes it's for points. Like they go in one direction and he's going another direction. What do you think? Just give me a Messi analysis because I would still put you against Messi on a fit day if you fit. What happens? Is that the same lesson?
I think with Messi, he shows you that ball and that you think you can win it, and then I think they just it's there for the winning, and they jump in, and then but he is also setting them up. So and they just adrenaline flows, and I can win this ball, and then nope, you can't. He's gone. So I think if they just sit back and relax, and he still has to come your way, but they go at him, but and then and be embarrassed. But if you just wait, he still has to wherever you think he still has to come to you. So that's what I would say, that they should just take a breath and wait for him.
Yeah. Well, based on you having that leverage on thing, is there any regrets in terms of the sport? Is there any regrets in terms of, I know you're not supposed to, but that's easier said than done.
um Not regret, probably not winning the TND league with Irie. I felt we had a team that should have been able to win the TND league. So I regret we didn't win that.
And what's the seasons you're talking about now? From because you played in Irie from 87.
80, yeah. And I felt all those years, when we had you, Loney, Ronald, Prince, Sam, I felt that we could have won, Anton, we could have won the league in any of those years, you know.
Well,
Um,
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I like to take myself out of the hat, because in 87, I only had one shot, I would think, in that. So while I am there with you, 87 was the only one. And remember, 87, I brought you in the second half of that season.
Yeah.
Right. So I only had, I wasn't there in 88, I wasn't there in 89, and it finished in 90 when I just came back for. But yeah, I appreciate that because yeah, a lot of people do have a lot of I don't really want to call it regrets with Irie because it's just learning experiences. Caribbean styles. Um, you came into in the second half of the 95 season, because I think you were in Trinidad. What you thought of the Caribbean styles team, the whole, once you've been back, you have always been missed from my point of view. Once it was good to have you back for the second half, which was the cup game, and stayed there till we win. We end up winning the indoor league at Centennial College. So could you give us a picture of how you think of this Caribbean styles, this whole evolution? And I just want to say, ladies and gentlemen, Dixon Modeste is one of my editors with Star Soccer Review magazine. He has stayed with me. He's one of two other guys who have stayed with me and helped me in every endeavor that I'm doing. And I just want his take on the Caribbean Stars, that mission we were on with Caribbean Stars, and what do you think of the players he played with and the league, the Puma League?
Well, the Puma League um, was the most competitive league that I played in Canada. Um, Probably was the most talented league in terms of there was like 6 or 7 teams, but each team had players. So I mean, the Croatian team was no joke. They had some guys from Croatia who mercy, they could play. All the teams basically had good players. So I mean, even so, I had to bring some of my friends from Trinidad, Marvin and Rayburn and stuff, to come and help because the
Yes.
league was good. Um, the bunch of players the Caribbean Stars assembled were the best that were available at the time, and I mean it was a good team and a bunch of good individuals, a good bunch of good fellas who, I mean, one guy I played with, Eric Fanis, he was fit. His work ethics for being one of the best players I've seen, and his work ethics, it was like a notch above, another notch. So it encouraged you to really bring your game up. So the Caribbean Stars team was a very very talented team, and there are a lot of players I can talk about. But about TC,
Yeah.
people have to see TC's physique to understand why Cam would say it, because he ended up having a physique like Maradona, like in the latter stage of Maradona. So you would say, when you count to this guy, well, this is okay. So you wouldn't even count him as a player. You'll say, well, okay, the team has 5 others, so you ain't even worrying about him. But boy, when TC got the ball, it's like a new world open up, because his vision, touch, sight, incredible player. So he didn't look it, but he is it.
Yeah. And the championship, the indoor championship at Centennial now, after 2 seasons, we finally won something. That was with Baete, Elvis, and this is what I'm saying. After going through all these players, every step we took, we tried to have good representation when it comes to the competition, and we end up pulling that one off.
The league, the competition was very tough, very tough, and I just say you had recruited a good bunch of guys who were dependable. Not forget the football, but we were dependable, reliable. Um, they came to play and they could play. So we had a good all-round team, and I think that's why we end up outlasting all the other teams there and end up winning that indoor season.
So Dix, what do you think about Caribbean Stars elevating to a media entity and covering the World Cups and stuff, and you being in the booth in the Toronto FC, ladies and gentlemen, he's also one of the journalists for Caribbean Stars and Star Soccer Review. And how you put that part of your career now, how you look at that, being able to, have pictures with you at Giant Stadium, how you look at that part of your career.
Well, as with everything, playing does come to an end, and some people try to hold on to it for as long as they can, but it does come to an end. So you have to evolve as with everything else. And as you see with all the NBA stars and stuff, they're all being analysts and commentating. And so you have to, if you like the game, you have to evolve with it and in a different capacity. And I still like the game, so I do what I think I can in the best capacity that I can. I think I can still contribute to the game in the sense of reporting on it or um, going and look and giving my insights. So it was just a natural evolution for me. Some other people will just turn away from the game and just look, but I felt I could still assist in that capacity.
Based on all the whole thing with Caribbean Stars, you're winning, and the whole thing of being here in Canada, because we have to also evaluate our life in Canada, because I guess you've been here a long time now. How you assess your choice of being here?
There's no regrets coming to Canada. I mean I go back to Trinidad every year, once or twice, and lots of my friends who I played with in Trinidad still there and stuff, and um, not for comparison, but their lifestyle and my lifestyle are almost basically the same. There's no, but just that to me, the security of medical and all of that up here is maybe superior than that in Trinidad, superior. But I I have no regrets of playing up here and being here and the soccer up here, the standard. Um, Basically is the same ball. Once you get some, I went and see some good games up here. That if I was in Trinidad, looking the leagues and stuff. In fact, the leagues up here probably know that you get to go and see some competitive games. As in, um, as in Trinidad, I probably wouldn't see a high level and the type of players that I see up here. So it's six of one, half dozen of the other, really. And I have no regrets being up here.
Okay, well, seeing that you touch on Trinidad based on that assessment, let's do a quick, we can go forever on this, but we'll do a quick snapshot on this. What do you think about your Trinidad and Tobago football? You see, they've been through a lot, their normalization and everything else. You called me on the game, the USA game and stuff. So based on the quick normalization into now under Fenwick and stuff, and you watching that USA game, give me a quick analysis, seeing that you're watching the game at all levels.
Um, it's disheartening to see um, where we are at now from where we came from. As I told you earlier on, in my college's days, there were like 5, 10,000 people watching the game and spurring you on, and players, you felt like playing to. I went back a couple years ago and I went to a game and family and friends basically, and then I went to some pro league games and family and friends basically, and to know that we were just in the World Cup a couple years ago, knocking on the door, holding England, holding Sweden, giving Paraguay a run for this money, and to think that it was going to be up from there, and to know that in such a short space of time that you could say we had rock bottom, it's very disheartening. I think that normalization case with FIFA didn't do us any good. I think uh, we can rebound, but we have to start to put a lot of infrastructure in place for this soccer to get up life support in Trinidad and Tobago. Even we're not exporting as much players into the other leagues as before. So something is wrong. I mean, even if there's no viable league, at least we could still be sending some representatives abroad, and that seems to be drying up. So the talent pool is getting stagnant, let's say. So we need. I hope Fenwick and his administration would be able to revive it, or at least put things in place, because we do need to start building. Because I watched that game against the United States, and they played with I don't want to say subpar team, but they played with an under 23 team, and we couldn't hold our own. Not to say we hold our own for even half. We basically we were outrun from basically the beginning. So there's a lot of work to be done in Trinidad and Tobago football.
All right. So, well, Dix, I think we just have wrap up everything on, I know you're out there, how you're making out with the COVID. I hope you're keeping safe.
Yes, well, as with all our organizations, we try to implement as much health and safety guidelines as possible. We try to change with the time. You try to keep one step ahead of Mr. COVID, but you never know. You have to be extremely careful. And once you take the proper safety requirement, you should be all right.
All right. So, okay, well, thanks for the time, Dix, and thanks for the information.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.